Clinton Foundation donates all the pediatric serums for HIV patients that are needed. The Clinton Foundation has helped the country procure the lowest price and helped with actually projections and ordering that for the last 2 years. Before that, medicines weren't as available, but they were somewhat available.
Well, now it looks like all that is a big fat lie. Joining me now is senior investigative reporter at the Daily Caller News Foundation, Richard Pollack. Richard, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Richard, this is a pretty big allegation that the Clinton Foundation or the Clinton Health Access Initiative distributed watered-down versions of AIDS medication. I don't even know how the Clintons would defend this.
Well, it turns out that in October 2003, the Clinton Health Access Initiative signed contracts with a number of Indian and South African countries to produce generic drugs for HIV/AIDS victims. That same year, the World Health Organization warned Randoxy, one of the major manufacturers of it, that it appeared that their practices in manufacturing were below standards. Then the Food and Drug Administration came in and signed a warning letter to Randoxy saying that their two of the three plants, both of which were producing HIV drugs for poor people in Africa and the Caribbean and elsewhere, that those plants were suspect of not meeting the most minimal standards for quality, purity, sanitation, etc. And then finally, with a whistleblower from within Randoxy, it turns out that the Justice Department then sued the company, and they pled guilty to 5 felonies involving the adulteration of drugs. These are the same drugs that the Clinton Foundation has been distributing to people who've been afflicted with this terrible disease throughout the developing world.
Right, so essentially then, the World Health Organization, the FDA, they warned this company in India. It was public information that this company was at least watering down their drugs, but the Clintons continued to use their drugs anyway?
Yes, and they continue using them to the best of our knowledge today. They have said nothing whatsoever about the felonies, about the warning letters. In fact, Randoxy drugs today cannot be imported into the United States. They are banned because that company does not meet the most minimal standards for quality production.
All right, Richard, tell me about this congressional report. This is where this information is coming from. It's actually a draft that I believe was leaked to you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, who is the vice chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, asked her staff to take a look at this drug company and at the Clinton Health Access Initiative. And they found these extraordinary findings, which really are shocking. It's unbelievable that an organization that claims to be a charitable organization could continue to send adulterated and diluted drugs for some of the worst diseases in the world, HIV/AIDS. And so she instructed her staff to go and do a thorough investigation. We received the 78-page report and felt it was important enough to share with our readers.
Right, and like I said at the beginning, this is the one leg the Clintons have had to stand on about the Clinton Foundation, with all the other allegations of pay-to-play and corruption, and the fact that they're just a terrible charity organization because they only give 10% of their charitable donations to actual charitable causes. I mean, this renders even their one argument to be invalid at this point. I think, Richard, it actually, I'm no doctor, obviously, but I would think it actually makes it more dangerous for these patients to be taking drugs that are watered down than to be not taking them at all, because they would believe that they're healing, allowing the disease to get worse or to spread it because they feel like they couldn't.
I was able to interview Dinesh Thakur, who was the whistleblower and worked at the company, who turned state's evidence to the Justice Department and the Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. Agency for International Development. I might mention that billions of dollars of American taxpayer money was used to purchase these adulterated drugs and send them to Africa. But I spoke to this research director at the company, the former one, the whistleblower, and he said to me that when you give the drugs, these are people who are suffering from very low platelet levels and also from very low white blood count. And this is supposed to raise it up. And he believes that they were unable to raise it up with this drug. So there were definitely serious complications. The Food and Drug Administration itself predicted that there were deaths, that there was mortality associated with the use of these drugs as well.
Absolutely shocking. It's heartbreaking. And now this woman wants us to elect her president. Richard, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Please come back soon. Keep us updated on this story as it unfolds. I'll talk to you then. Our next tipping point with Matthew Vadum is